one of the things that we see is actually the period of time that you need to wait after a grant has been issued, where somebody can bring a claim against the estate as a dependent. And it's just being aware of those timeframes. As an executor, you have a responsibility and you can be held personally liable. And that's a real responsibility for an executor or a personal representative to make sure that they're aware of these timeframes, that they take adequate steps to protect themselves. And I think that's something that maybe people don't understand, particularly when they maybe don't have a personal relationship with the person that's died. They don't know all of the family circumstances.
It's also knowing what you don't know, isn't it? So I've had clients who've come to me and they've given me the information for the date of death. And then we sort of looked at, did they make any gifts in the 7 years before they died? And they sort of haven't thought about that, and they don't realise there's an obligation on them to investigate whether the person did, because that could really change the tax position. Also, on a more positive note, I've had people who've come to me and I've been able to point out an allowance or a relief that they wouldn't have known about and they wouldn't have claimed. And HMRC are very good at saying you've misclaimed something. They're not so good at saying, I noticed that there's an adult disabled child. Did you know you can have this relief? And so by taking advice, they can actually save tax as well as making sure they pay the appropriate amount. And appropriate can be either way, more or less. And it's knowing the things to look for and being able to guide them and give them support and hopefully protect them against the potential personal liability. But also, I think sometimes people assume it's quite straightforward because something's going straight from husband to wife, but there may be opportunities by deeds of variation to change the tax position, either on that estate or to improve it for the future, that aren't necessarily on the face of the papers. That we've done probably 5 or 6, 7 times a year, and so we're alive to them and can point them out to people. So I would say that's one of the reasons is the comfort of knowing that somebody else has looked at it. I think you said before that when you're emotionally involved in something, it can be quite difficult to cope with it, and so having someone who's a step back from it to look at it for you can be helpful.
It's also a very time-consuming process, and we have a lot of clients that have full-time jobs, and they think, I can gather this information and I can do this myself. But actually, when you start the process, you realise you might need to contact somebody, and their opening hours are 9 to 5. You end up spending a lot of your time going through this process. It's quite stressful at an already difficult time for you. And just passing that on to a solicitor, you've got that peace of mind that everything's being dealt with. You're, like you said, you're claiming the right allowances, but also you can have that emotional detachment from it.
And also stopping there becoming a situation within a family, because I think it can be, you're taking too long to do this. When am I going to be able to get my inheritance? Because you're taking ages. And actually, if they have handed it over to a solicitor that got a bit of backup to say, actually, the reason it's taking this long is not because your brother, sister, aunt, or whatever's taking too long. It's because of the process. And it can stop family situations becoming inflamed and suspicions coming in, which sadly are all too common.
Yeah, it's just that independent professional advice that gives that peace of mind to an executor at a stressful time and in a role where there is a lot of responsibility.